Welcome everyone to Chelsea Till I Die podcast. I'm your host Justin, and today I'm joined once again by Suri and Ameya, who's making his Chelsea Till I Die debut. Newcastle 1, Chelsea 0. A late winner from Isaac Hayden in the 94th minute was able to secure Newcastle 3 points. Chelsea once again are unable to break down a team that plays with a very low defensive block and failed to capitalize off drop points from Man City, who tied 2-2 with Crystal Palace, and Arsenal, who tied 1-1 with Sheffield United, and potentially Man United, who are about to take on Liverpool soon. How's everyone doing?
Good. No, actually, nah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Pretty disappointed from yesterday, I guess.
Very.
So we're all international fans. We had to stay up somewhat late for that game, and I didn't wake up until 1 today. It was super frustrating.
Yeah. I feel like I just wasted my... Yeah.
And so let's start talking about the game. Chelsea, obviously, I think they lacked desire. There was no end product from the players whatsoever, not enough shots. And again, we were just unable to break Newcastle's 5-man defensive block again. Do you guys agree with this?
Yeah, I agree. Once again, like, we can't break down these defensive block teams, and it just comes to show how, last season we relied on Eden Hazard so much to, break down these teams. And now that we don't have him, it's like we don't have a creative player like him anymore. And, you got, like, Mount. He doesn't, for me, he doesn't offer anything to the team. He, tries to receive the ball from deep, but, there's no point to it.
And also Kante, I think Kante had a bad game. Defensively, he was solid, but in attack, he offered nothing at all. And I don't know why Kovacic was not starting, and why was Barkley ahead of Kovacic. What about you, Ameya?
Yeah, I think that, you said it right. Our players just didn't have enough end product. And what concerned me was in the post-match press conference, Lampard said that the team gave it their all. And in reality, it wasn't their all. It wasn't even close to their all. I mean, if this is their all, it's pretty concerning. And to talk about individual performances, I think Rudiger was very bad yesterday. I don't think he should be playing anymore. I don't know why Tomori is not getting a run of games in the team. And Mount, he did try very hard yesterday, I think, and missed a header or two. But I think he does offer something in the team, but he's sort of inconsistent, and I think it's a problem with overhyping. Sort of like many people on Twitter, they talk about how great he is when in reality he's not that great. I'm not saying he can't reach those heights, but he's not as great as they say he is. So, yeah.
I absolutely agree. I think what Lampard needs to do with Mount is he needs to bench Mount for a couple games, like he did with Pulisic at the start. Let Mount, to recover his form and reassess his performances. And I think it proved to work well because Lampard's man management has been really good. He didn't rush Pulisic in, and then Pulisic after that has been phenomenal. Okay, I think we have to talk about Reece James because I think Reece James was by far our best player on the pitch yesterday. Sir, what do you think?
Yeah, he really was. And is it a serious injury, or is it just a couple of weeks or?
Ameya, do you know anything about it?
I don't think so. I don't think they've confirmed anything just yet. Hopefully, when we have a pre-match press conference for Arsenal, we should be able to get an estimate about how long he's out for, I think.
Yeah, because without him, I feel like because him and Hudson-Odoi, they link up very well, and without him, if Azpilicueta is playing, I feel like they don't have the same chemistry and connection, and I don't think there'll be as many crosses in, and then we have to play Emerson or Alonso on the left. So
Reece James, I think, in the past 2 games has been our best attacking player by far. Yeah. He's crossing, he's linking up, and he's bringing creativity into the team, which we are clearly lacking right now. We can't even create clear-cut chances. There's no end product. We rush the ball too often, and against a team like Newcastle who play like a low defensive block, you have to be patient and pick out like the small pockets that their defense will leave out. And you need a creative player to do that. And Reece James has done that well, but it's not enough. One player doing all the work is just simply not enough.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I think even the commentators mentioned yesterday that, like, the passes that he made were sort of like Kevin De Bruyne. I think that's some high praise coming from the commentators for him, and his crossing is just incredible. I think it's almost on level with Alexander Arnold. I don't think he's reached that level yet, but he's showing real good promise, and he was undoubtedly our most dangerous player yesterday. And he's a right back. I think that highlights the issues in our team. We desperately need attacking players. We need that spark. I think, as Suri mentioned earlier, which we have been missing since Eden Hazard's left us. So yeah, so that's the main thing that I want to say. And also, I not playing Kovacic was a shocking decision for me. I think you mentioned that earlier. And Kante, Jorginho, both of them didn't have their best games, but yeah. So I think where was Kovacic? I mean, he didn't even get him on as a substitute, which is appalling. I think, and we really missed Pulisic yesterday. I think he was of a huge impact when we played Newcastle in the reverse fixture as well. So I think he would have made a massive difference would he have been able to play yesterday.
I think Pulisic would have easily made a massive impact because we had Pedro was on the bench, and I don't think Pedro would have actually done anything if he came on. And I absolutely agree. Why is Ross Barkley ahead of Kovacic? Like, I can't wrap my mind around that. Like, Kovacic does what Barkley does, but way better. Way better. And it's been 2 games since Kovacic has been benched, right? And all the other games before that, Kovacic has probably been one of our best players.
Yeah, I agree. But I think when it comes to the attacking side of it, I think Barkley is definitely better than Kovacic in that number 10 role. And for some reason, Lampard wants to continue with the 4-2-3-1 instead of the 4-3-3. And so I think for that number 10 role, I think Barkley is a better fit. But if you see who the better player is, it's definitely Kovacic.
I mean, I agree too, because like Barkley, in attack, he's more physical than Kovacic. But I mean, just because you're more physical, Barkley doesn't have, he can't pick out players in the final third, and he doesn't shoot enough or score enough, which is what we need right now.
Yeah, and I think the reason he is being benched quite a lot is because I feel like Mason Mount and Lampard are like the same thing as Suri and Jorginho last season, where he just like he's like his boy or his kid or a kid, I don't know. And I feel like it's because people, I think, he has a lot of respect for Kante as well. So I think that's the reason why he's getting benched.
I mean, I think Mount, he has been good this season. He's a talented player, but the past few games, he hasn't offered anything. There was like a few glimpses at the start of the second half where I think Mount created like 2 chances. But then after that, he completely just disappeared and didn't offer enough for us in attack.
I feel like he only like presses the ball. He's very like an intense player, but like other than that, like I don't see much from him.
Okay, so what about? Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, nothing. He's just not that creative. I think when people talk about a number 10, the first thing to think about is creativity. Picking those passes and finding that pocket of space. And I think Mount lacks that. He's a different type of the number 10. He's sort of like Bruno Fernandes, if you could compare the two. I don't think Bruno Fernandes is the most creative player, but when he gets the ball, he always attempts to take a shot, and he gets into good spaces and tries to get a shot. So I think that's the reason that Mount has not been performing that well against, especially teams which play against the low block.
Yeah, I mean, I consider Mount more of like a second striker who like plays in behind the striker and just presses. But yeah, in terms of his creative abilities, he lacks that, definitely, without a doubt. I think let's touch on Kante because the Chelsea fan seems to have very mixed opinions about him recently.
Yeah.
I mean, I think against like sides that do attack, like I remember, I think Kante was our best player in the Liverpool game.
Yeah.
That was and the Arsenal game, and that was because Kante defensively is a great player. He intercepts the ball. He will run his socks off. But in attack against these like low block teams, he doesn't offer that much. He's like I think he's fast, but I don't know, he just can't he seems to always disappear against these defensive teams.
Yeah, I think his decision making is not the best, like for an attacking midfielder.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the main problem is that he doesn't work in a double pivot with Jorginho. I think he played very well in the double pivot with Matic. I think when we won the season under Antonio Conte, but he's just not been able to click with Jorginho in that double pivot. I think when you play 4-3-3, I think Kante has a different role altogether, by pressing the opposition and whatnot. But when you play a 4-2-3-1, you've got to have a very good mental connection with your defensive partner in the double pivot. And I don't think Kante shares that with Jorginho.
Exactly.
Like Kovacic. I think Kovacic and Jorginho, they're like made for each other. The person knows what the other person is going to do even before he does it, and that's what makes them such a pleasure to watch and very hard to play against for the opposition.
Yeah, I think when Ruben Loftus-Cheek gets back and can play again, I think like as much as I love Kante, I think Jorginho and Kovacic play together, and they just play together. I think they complement each other, and
I think when Ruben returns, I think he'll be super vital for the squad because I think what we're lacking right now, and one of the reasons why we can't break down these defensive teams is because we don't have a game-changing presence or someone like Ruben Loftus-Cheek who will just have a massive impact physically in the game. He'll drive at players, he'll create space, and he'll shoot. I think when Ruben comes back, he'll definitely help this problem and definitely be vital in the team. What do you think, Ameya?
Yeah, definitely. I think Loftus-Cheek was one of my favorite players last season, no cap. And I think apart from Hazard, obviously, and he has the dribbling ability, the ability to drive the ball and make defense into attacks, and we've been missing that this season. And he's made for that number 8 position. I think that once he's back, I can't wait for him to be back. But he keeps having these injury setbacks, and it is a bit of a concern. But I think if we do play 4-3-3 with him in that number 8 position, I think we will once again start to break down these teams who play with a low block against us, because he offers that something special which we're lacking, and I think he would make a massive difference to the team when he comes back, and I really can't wait for him to be back. But it is important to not rush him back so that his injury doesn't relapse, because it is a very serious injury, and we have to be patient with him and give him the time till he recovers completely, and then give him a string of games in the first team, and then see how much he impacts the team.
I want to ask you this: when Ruben returns, who do you think should be Chelsea's midfield three?
If we do play the 4-3-3, then it's going to be Jorginho, Conte, and Loftus-Cheek, like how we played last season. But if it's a 4-2-3-1, then it should be Jorginho, Kovacic, and then Loftus-Cheek in the number 10 role.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, I think let's switch gears a little. I think let's talk about the defensive aspect of the game yesterday. I mean, yeah, I think defensively we were okay, but I think Rudiger was so shaky, and he kept pumping the ball up for no reason, and our set piece defending is once again horrible, absolutely appalling. Yeah. The last minute winner should have easily been prevented by Christensen or Rudiger. They should have easily cleared that ball out.
Yeah, I think it was definitely Rudiger's fault. That, I mean, what is he doing? He's left his man completely, and so that is a bit of a problem, because as you mentioned, our set piece defending hasn't always been the best this season, and yesterday just amplified that. And I think Christensen had a really good game yesterday. I really do. I think 2 games against Burnley and Newcastle back to back, and against the most physical sides in the league, if you would. And he's had great games in both. And I think most people criticize him for his physicality, saying that he can't cut it in the Premier League. But he showed against 2 of the best teams that he can. So I hope he gets a good run of games. But the problem is sorting out a defensive partner for him, I think, because Zuma and Christensen simply doesn't work like we tried at the beginning of the season. And I think Tomori could be given a run alongside Christensen. That would be interesting. But yeah, I think Rudiger has to be dropped now. I mean, he is our most experienced player, I agree. And he is a leader on the pitch. I mean, you can always see him screaming and shouting at his defensive partners to organize themselves. But on the ball, he wasn't great. And overall, he's very inconsistent. And for someone who should be in their prime, I think that is a little bit concerning.
I think Christensen has definitely been our best defender in the past few games. His ball playing skills are just so good. And obviously, I think people are saying that he lacks physicality and can't win headers, but from what I saw from the last few games, Christensen has been winning constant headers every game.
I feel like he's jumping a bit early at times, and a lot of times he's like jumping over the players or like getting on top of the players and like giving away fouls. But other than that, yeah, I think he's been playing very, very well. His distribution is really, really good. What would be better is maybe having him alongside maybe Zuma as opposed to Rudiger, someone who's more stronger and more physical. So,
if I just may add a little bit, I think at the beginning of the season we did try Zuma Christensen. It simply didn't work. We conceded so many goals against teams like Norwich who exploit that because they can't hold their line together. I think especially that Norwich game. I think on both occasions they're like either one person is behind or the other person's behind, and they always seem to leave those attackers onside in an offside trap situation. So I don't know. I think once again, I don't think they complement each other very well. Zuma and Christensen.
You guys think Chelsea should be looking for another center back then in the January transfer window?
No, I don't think. No, for me, no, because we have 4 like good center backs ready, and to have a 5th center back, I feel like it's too much, and it'll there's no point. I feel like they're all good, and maybe after like a year or so, maybe they'll, it just comes with
Definitely, I think, because we got Tomori, I think, who's quite young, and he hasn't had that much experience. So obviously, as he gets more games, he'll definitely improve for sure, without a doubt. Ameya, do you think we should go for a signing?
I think we have to go for a signing a centre back. So someone like Koulibaly. I know it's unrealistic, but we need that experience as well as the leadership on the team. Something like how Van Dijk had an effect on Liverpool. I mean, their defense was absolutely terrible before they signed Virgil van Dijk, and since then he's absolutely revolutionized them. And somehow we've got to find a player who's capable of doing that with our defense, and hopefully sell a couple of these defenders and then get another centre back in.
Exactly, we need like a Van Dijk-esque defender who will completely just change our defense. But the thing is, besides, I think Koulibaly, there's not that much available right now in the market. Okay, so I mean, I think let's switch gears now and let's talk about Willian, because I mean, this season Willian has been pretty good in my opinion, and lots of people are saying that he has been reborn under Lampard, but Chelsea has offered him a 1-year extension, but he's refusing it and demanding a 2-year contract. Keep or sell him.
I'd keep him because I feel like he's a very direct player, and I feel like Hudson-Odoi and Pulisic are not as direct as him. And in corners, if you give him the ball, he's very, very dangerous, and he provides something for me. He provides something that Hudson-Odoi and Pulisic can't, in that his shooting is crazy good. So
I think that I think we should sell him. I mean, I don't agree that we should keep him for 2 more years. That's simply not worth it. I think if you do offer him a 2-year contract and break our club's policy of offering only 1-year contract extensions on Willian of all the players, of all the legends that we've had, you want to break it on Willian. I mean, that doesn't make sense. But I think if you do give him a 2-year contract and then sell him later on, that wouldn't be the worst thing. I think instead of letting him go on a free, like you give him a 2-year contract and then later, like 1 year later, if he's surplus to requirements, then I think you can sell him, and that makes more sense.
I think we should try to get him to accept the 1-year contract, and so we don't have to sell him for free in the summer, or we can keep him for another year. And yeah, like you said, so many Chelsea legends like John Terry has accepted 1-year contract extensions. So why is Willian demanding a 2-year contract? Like, it's absurd. So I guess, I mean, on the talk about signings, I think we should talk about the January transfer window. So I want to know what your guys' ideal January transfer signings would be, and why you would want to sign that player. Sir, you can go first.
I think Timo Werner would be ideal, but there's no chance we're getting him in during January. People talk about Dembele and all, but I haven't seen much from him. Personally, like, in my opinion, like, I do not know who to sign during the summer window. I just want another striker so that he can compete with Tammy Abraham. Because I feel like right now, some games Abraham does literally nothing in the game. Like yesterday, he had 1 or 2 good chances, but then he's quiet for the entire game and he provides nothing. And I feel like if you have another striker, they'll really like compete with him and yeah, challenge him so he would perform better in these types of games.
Apparently, Leicester is linked to Ryan Bertrand for a replacement for Chilwell. So I don't know. I don't think Chelsea are going to sign Chilwell, but Leicester are definitely preparing for that. Ameya, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that Chilwell's been sort of inconsistent lately, and he's pretty young. We've got to give him that, but he's going to be very, very expensive for the left back position, because I don't think Leicester will sell him cheap. And I don't think we're going to sign him in January. I don't think Leicester will want to let go of their players when they're in a position like they are right now. And I think we should be looking at other leagues which we're not doing enough. I think, especially the Portuguese league, you've got Grimaldo, who's a great young talent, who has everything to succeed at the top level. You've got Alex Telles, who is a bit old now, but I think 26, 27, he's in his prime at the moment, and we could use a player like him, to provide some experience. And he's very great at crossing. So him and Reece James on either side would sort of be like an Alexander-Arnold and Robertson combination, if I dare compare them. So I think Chilwell is definitely not my first choice, but I wouldn't be totally against us getting him, but I don't see us signing in January. And about the other positions, I think a centre-back is required. I don't know. It looks that way, because all 4 of us centre backs are like on the same level, on par. Each of them have their own pros and cons individually. And a striker, definitely. I think even my first choice is actually Timo Werner. I really like him. I've been following him ever since he joined Leipzig, and he's a fantastic player. He'd offer something completely different to Abraham. I think Dembele is sort of like Abraham. He's strong, he's pacey, he's good at holding the ball up, good with both feet. So in Timo Werner, you can see a plan B, if you will. If Tammy Abraham isn't working, then Werner can come and offer something completely different against the team. And I think what many people don't agree with me is that we need a creative number 10. I think someone like Olmo from Zagreb, I think he would be the ideal signing. He'd cost 30-40 million right now, and I don't think Zagreb would refuse that kind of money even in January. And I think he would really, really help our team with the creative aspect. So yeah, this is what I do for January.
What about Isco for a creative midfielder? Do you think he'll be a good fit?
I think he will. I think he will, but I'm not that convinced on Isco. I mean, I think he's sort of inconsistent, and despite being at Real Madrid for such a long time, he's still not a regular starter. I mean, he does play most of their games, but he's not been out of this world extraordinary. I think he had a good spell quite a while back, but then since then he's been inconsistent. I'm not entirely sold on Isco, but I think he'd fit in well.
Yeah, I mean the January transfer window it's such a hard window to buy players in. Clubs don't want their players to leave. It's hard for players to transition, and players are often overvalued. So I would honestly be fine if Chelsea didn't sign anyone this window, because I don't want us to panic buy and buy someone like Drinkwater.
I feel like Chelsea can wait till the summer window and then buy players for a lot cheaper, or not a lot cheaper, but for a better price. And if you do bring in players, it may, I guess, ruin the momentum. But at the same time, we're in a we're in a slump right now. So maybe bringing one player would be good. But other than that, I think we should wait till.
Yeah, I think if we're given a choice between panic buys now, which may not have such a good impact on the team for a long period of time, or wait till the summer and then spend exorbitant amounts on getting good players, I think I'd wait till the summer definitely. But I think as Suri mentioned, I think like one or maybe two players wouldn't be that bad, and I well, spending about 30-40 million on each of them would be ideal. So I think a left back and a creative midfielder could do us well till the summer, and then we could hopefully go for the likes of Sancho and Werner.
I think our number one priority right now should be a left back signing, because Azpilicueta does the job, but in attack he doesn't offer that much, and you can tell his chemistry with Willian is just not good. It's not like Reece James and Callum Hudson-Odoi on the right side.
Yeah, I think it should be. When you look at the game yesterday or today, most of our attacks came from the right flank. When we do pass it up to Willian, there's no overlapping or overlapping runs from Azpilicueta. And I feel like it's on the left wing, it's only about Willian, whereas on the right, it's Reece James and Hudson-Odoi together.
Yeah, I think left back should be our number one priority at the moment. Definitely, we have to go for an attacking left back, who's good with his crossing and stuff like that. Because especially now with Reece James' injury, we don't know how long he's going to be out for. And Azpilicueta is going to have to shift to the right hand side, so the left back position is now once again between Emerson and Marcus Alonso. So I don't think we're ready to see those two continue playing in the Chelsea jersey just yet. So so I think left back is now a major priority.
Going back to what Ameya said earlier about us needing to sign a center back, I don't get why Chelsea have dropped their interest on Nathan Ake. I mean, Ake, he will definitely have a huge impact as a center back, and he can play left back as well. And all we have to do is activate the release clause. But apparently, reports are saying that Chelsea have dropped their interest in him. Do you guys think this is a good idea or a bad idea?
I think it's a bad idea because, you said you can play him on the left back, and which could, I guess, strengthen the left side. And I don't know. I think they should release they should buy him and put him left back.
I don't think he'd be that much of an improvement, if I'm being honest. I mean, he does play centre back more frequently than he plays in the left back position, so I don't think he'd be as effective going forward as someone like a Grimaldo or Telles would be. So that's a big objection of mine, if you will. And as a centre back, is he really better than our four options? I mean, you can compare the stats all you want, right? But it's clear that he plays in a worse team. He plays in a team which faces more shots on target, which has more people running at them. So obviously, the stats are going to be inflated because he's obviously going to have to make more tackles at Bournemouth now than what he would at Chelsea, right? So is he really better than our defensive options? I'm not so sure, but does he improve us? I think he does.
I'm not sure too if he will be better than our center backs, but yeah, like you said, stats don't tell the full story. Like it depends on the play style the team has too. Like different play styles will obviously inflate different stats. Like if you're in a possession based team, obviously the players will have higher passing stats. Thank you everyone for tuning in to this episode of the Chelsea Till I Die podcast. Be sure to check us out on Twitter at CTID_podcast. Be sure to check us out on Spotify, that's just Chelsea Till I Die. And check us out on Anchor, and that's just anchor.fm/CTID.